Hey guys, hope you're doing all right. Let's get into working with our clay. Let's get started. All of you should have a bag and you should have your block of clay. Everybody has the same amount of clay to begin working with. In the past, those of you that were with me before, we've wedged this clay. We're not going to wedge this clay this time because that will begin to dry it out. So it's real important that you know that working with the clay, once you take it out of this bag, it's going to start to dry out. Now it'll take some time. Most likely it'll have to, if I was to leave this block of clay out, it would probably need overnight to kind of harden, and it would still be drying out. Sometimes it'll take several days for it to dry out. I'm going to keep the bag close because I'm going to cut away some of the clay that I'm going to use, and I'm going to immediately put it back into the bag so that so I'll be able to work with it whenever I choose to. I'm just going to use this butter knife that I've got here, so you will have hopefully a tool that is similar to this one. And I'm just going to kind of press down. You'll see it's kind of hard. And all I'm doing, as you can see, is cutting this clay in half. And I'm going to take the 1/2 of this clay, and I'm just going to put it right back into the bag. Now, real important, when you put your clay into your bag, try and press the air out of the bag. In fact, I'll roll it up a little bit before I zip this bag closed. The goal is to not have any air in here, nothing that will allow your clay to continue to dry out. Now, this clay that you've got is free choice, essentially. With the clay that we've cut away, we should have enough to make whatever we choose to make. So keep that in mind, that this extra clay that's in the bag, you can do whatever you would like to with. Now, my recommendation, hopefully you've got your plans all laid out, but my recommendation would be that you just cut away small portions of this as you begin to work on your plan. And I'm going to show you some different techniques. First thing I want to show you, though, is if you know that you're going to be attaching some of this clay to another piece, then you will want to get yourself a cup. This is kind of a rough looking cup. This is one I use with watercolors. You want to put a little bit of water in this cup. So I'm going to pour some water in here. You don't need much, just enough. I'll show you with the document camera here in a moment. So you don't have to have a ton of liquid in the cup, just enough to basically cover the clay that we're getting ready to put in there. I'm going to take, and I could pinch this off with my fingers. I'm just going to cut away a little corner of this clay, a little chunk here, and I'm just going to drop that into my water. Now, what this is going to do is this is going to begin to soften up. It's going to become super saturated, and it's going to start to almost dissolve. And we're going to use that clay that is kind of breaking down and becoming, it'll end up becoming what we call slip, which is like a very, it's super muddy kind of clay. But that clay we're going to use to attach pieces in the future. So go ahead and set that aside. You want to have that kind of soaking. You can kind of start to use it right away, but it's better if you let it soak for a couple of hours or a day or two. All right, and now you can see I've got plenty of clay here, and let's go ahead and while we've got our clay, let's make a very simple bead. So again, I can cut a piece off. I'm just going to pinch a piece off here. You can kind of get an idea for about the size, and I'm going to make what I would say is probably one of the simplest beads, just a sphere. So I'm just rolling this up in my hands. You can see it's starting to take shape. Now, if you want it to be a perfect sphere, then you just spend a little bit of time kind of working it there in between your hands. You can adjust the shape of this very, very easily using just the surface of your table. You're welcome to use any of the tools that you have available to you. We talked about those in the previous video. So I've got kind of a small sphere, and I think this will make just a nice shape for a bead as it is here. And so now I'm going to focus on making the hole. I'm going to use a toothpick for my purposes. If you don't have a toothpick, find something small, even if it's just like a strong twig outside, something that will allow you to kind of poke through with your hole. So I'm just going to gently push that all the way through. I'll put my finger on the other side just so that I can feel it when it gets close. Plus, I'm trying to keep that shape that I had originally. Now, very important, when you push that toothpick or whatever you push through, I'm twisting it now with my fingers. And I'm going to continue to do some shaping. So like the way that the clay has kind of broken out there on the other side, I want to adjust that. So I'm just going to, you want the hole to be a little bit bigger than the toothpick, so I'm twisting the toothpick around inside that hole. And now I'm going to go ahead and remove that. You can see on this side it's a nice clean hole. On the other side it's not so clean, so I'm going to spend some time right now, again, just kind of using the tools that I have available. I could just use my fingers. You can see I'm gently pressing that in. Other thing I might do is I might take my toothpick and come in from this other side. So just kind of gently pressing, making sure that that hole is opening up. And now I've got your basic bead. You can see it's important to make sure that that hole goes all the way through, but this is a very simple bead. So what we'll want to do, so if you know that this is finished and you're done, this is all you want to do, you don't want to do any shaping or carving, then you just kind of set this aside, not in the bag, so that it can dry and begin to dry out the way that it is. But if you know you're going to do some additional shaping, maybe you're going to make several more beads, I would stick this inside your bag just so that you'll be able to work with it more easily. Okay? All right, we'll stop there.